I'm here with an upcoming artist, Jovan Hansman, and you'll probably be hearing his name a lot because he's getting a lot of publicity, a lot of coverage. He is not only a phenomenally talented artist, but he's also come from a very unusual background. Jovan grew up in the projects of St. Louis, and I'll turn it over to him to tell you more of his story because I want it to come from him and in his own words. Jovan, tell me what it was like growing up in the projects of St. Louis.
It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do in my life.
What was it like on a daily basis? Were you scared? Were there a lot of drugs, violence? What was it specifically like for you?
It was hell. It was drug violence, gangs. Home was completely messed up. Single mother, like I had, Sawyer, Marvin, Tito, 4 other siblings in the house with me. None of us had a father who came through and did anything. My mother didn't work. She didn't have her first job until I was like 21. So been on welfare basically my whole life, trying to stay out of gangs and stay away from drug violence. But it was a way of living down there. It was a way of surviving. So pretty much, if you didn't have a parent at work, you were either going to be in a gang or be selling drugs to either put food in your mouth and your refrigerator or feed your own family.
So how was it that you didn't end up in a gang or becoming a drug dealer?
I wouldn't say I didn't. I tried both. Didn't work for me. Both of my brothers, well, my oldest brother, he was kind of the reason I didn't have a choice. Because if his enemies came around and didn't see him, they saw me, it was like, well, do your next best thing to your brother. So if we can't get him, we get you. So one thing that kind of helped was there's a lot of people who weren't scared to come down there. It was churches that came out and did activities for kids and gave away school supplies. Guardian Angels, they had a few after-school activities. But they didn't last long because pretty soon the violence had got so bad that they would even like shoot while people were out giving away school supplies, or they would see a church having a water balloon fight in a park and they still shoot. So after a while, they even scared the little help we did have away.
Obviously, it's almost impossible for me to relate to your background coming from an upper class or middle to upper class family. I don't understand how you survive that on a daily basis. How is it that nothing ended up happening? How is it that you're basically sitting here breathing?
I guess it just comes from trying to stay away from it. When I had to deal with it, I dealt with it the best way I could, but I wasn't one to hop on the bandwagon and praise guys because they sold enough drugs to get this nice car or do this and do that. I didn't think that was cool because, I mean, you can watch them like 2 or 3 years later, or maybe 6 months later, they end up dead or locked up. So I knew where you would end up, praising those guys or following their footsteps. So I kind of I stayed away from it as best I could, so then I can see what was in store for me later.
If you didn't have any positive role models outside of the family or inside of the family, what is it that, was it just your own intelligence and observation that, got you going in the right direction, or was there somebody somewhere who kind of helped you out in some way?
Not for a long time. I had one friend, his name was Jermaine Lamont Roberts, and I liked his lifestyle. He came home every day, did his homework, and still had time to come out and do whatever else he wanted to do. But I thought he could live like that because he was in a single parent home too, but his mother worked her ass off. So I mean, I thought maybe if I had that would kind of motivate me a little bit more or something, but I didn't have that, so I kind of hung around him. And he was kind of like a guardian angel. He was my best friend, but I still looked up to him.
Were you able to do well in school in the midst of all these problems?
No. I tried. It went for a while, but it was weird. It's not just where I'm from, but I think anywhere around the world. You are a part of a gang or whatever's going on in your neighborhood, whether you like it or not. You can go to a certain school and people will ask you where you're from, and they will automatically say, okay, well, you're in this gang. Even though you wouldn't be, you just didn't have a choice. That's where you had to live, and that's all your mother could afford. That's where you were. So, but other people didn't look at it like that. So that's what made it hard for me. I went through a lot of schools because of that reason.
So it sounds like you were totally, basically trapped by the world you were born into. I think maybe, a lot of people are. Somebody like me, I might take my life for granted because I was in a situation where I was always safe, always had enough food. I never had to worry about anything. But I think many people in the world are born into situations where they're just trapped by circumstance. How is it that somebody in your situation doesn't completely give up or despair or buy into all of the violence and everything because they just have no other way out?
I don't know. I hated where I grew up. I hated the type of people that were down there. And when I tried it or gave up, I hated how it made me look to other people. It was a lot of people, kids that knew I didn't fit in with the gangs and drug dealers. And when they saw me try it, I felt bad because I knew what they felt about me. So if they saw me going under with everybody else, I mean, that just made me feel bad. So like I said, I tried this stuff before and I hated it. So I just thought, to stay away from some other door open up somewhere. So I guess I was basically just going on hope.